Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show. Every guest seems to be from another country. Are there no American writers out there? I love the ones from other countries. They're so interesting. And check out this book, by the way, The Religion of Enlightenment by Emily Scialom. We rehearsed the name of the book and of the author. Did I get it right, Emily?
Very close. It's actually The Religion of Self-Enlightenment by Emily Scialom.
Self-Enlightenment, yeah. I left out the small word.
Nearly.
The Religion of Self-Enlightenment. I've read a lot of books about enlightenment and like that. But tell us about this book, The Religion of Self-Enlightenment, Emily.
Well, it took me 8 years to write, so it's a real labour of love, and the story focuses on a young man, a completely fictional young man named Carrick Aries, who has a near-death experience in a car accident and essentially writes a new religion in order to try to help save the world.
Right. That's fascinating, Emily. I've read so many things about people who've had near-death experiences. I'm very interested in that. So it's a novel, right?
It is a novel. It's kind of like a sandwiched format. You have the introductory phase of his life, his childhood, his adolescence, and so on. Then the religion he writes, and then the aftermath of him writing the religion. So it's a bit like a book within a book.
Yeah. What would you call the genre, by the way?
I'd say it's general fiction with a spiritual twist, if I'm honest.
There is a spiritual twist. Good. I was hoping it wasn't just all made up for nothing, but there is a spiritual twist.
There is, yeah.
And it's not a real person, or what inspired you to do this? I'm fascinated by that.
Well, I was working in a pub called The Granter in Cambridge in the summer of 2008, trying to save up money to go to America, ironically. And my boss there was an incredibly dull man, or so I thought, until he took me aside and told me an outlandish story from his youth when he was quite a wayward character, and I realised he'd been someone else. Huh. And so I wrote the first line of my first book about that man, and the line is, he was the kind of person who had forgotten why he is here. And then I needed to go about exploring what he'd forgotten, how he'd forgotten, and how he goes about remembering.
Okay. Now, so you're working at a pub in Cambridge?
Yeah, in 2008 I was, yeah.
And I forgot to ask you, we talked about it before we came on there, but my first question usually is, where are you located, Emily?
I'm based in Cambridge, England, mate.
Yeah. And I tell you, Americans, we're into ourselves. We don't know anything about England or where the cities are, except for maybe London. So I love talking to people from other countries. And almost every guest is from another country, and quite a few from the UK. Who's going to like this book, Emily?
Well, hopefully people who are inclined to ask too many questions in their own mind about why am I here, what's the point of all this. I like to think if you've ever curled up in a corner in a dark room and rocked yourself back and forth thinking what's the point of life, you know, you will understand the narrative of this book. It's really a deep dive into an existential crisis. And it doesn't just pose those questions about what's the meaning and so on and so forth. It actually suggests answers. It's not dictatorial at all, but there is a pathway which opens up for the main character, which could maybe help people out there to lead more balanced and stable lives, I'd say.
Yeah. Do you think people will be moved by this book toward spirituality?
In my experience, I wouldn't say so. If you're spiritually inclined, you'll absolutely love the themes and many of the messages of the book, if there are any, you know, about oneness, unity, karma, reincarnation, love, and so on and so forth. They're kind of well-trodden pathways for the average spiritual pilgrim, but especially for young people who are developing their perspectives on the world, I think it could be quite eye-opening.
Yeah. Did this book, I mean, it covers a lot. Did it take a lot of research, or was this just from your own experiences?
Well, I was obsessed with writers like Raymond Moody, who wrote a best-selling classic called Life After Life about near-death experiences, and Dr. Brian Weiss, who's written so many books on past life regression. And also I was very influenced by a series of books called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, where he really goes into the questions of, you know, what's the point of all this? Why am I suffering so much? And how can I live the life I want to live instead of a nightmare, you know?
Yeah. I always ask that question, who's going to read this book? But just by hearing you talk about it for just a few moments, I'm moved to read this book. You inspired me to read it, so it's amazing. I see you have a lot of passion for this book. By the way, I should always ask this, I always forget to ask, where can people get this book?
It's available through Amazon, Waterstones, Kindle. You know, if you look, you won't find it hard to find.
All the usual places. I don't push one site over another. Nobody endorses me, even though they should. But I love Amazon because I press a button and the book shows up the next day at my house with no shipping charge or anything like that. So that's why I like the Amazon.
Yeah, and obviously there's like second-hand copies of the book available now because it's been out a few years. And you can find them on eBay and things like that. It's quite an adventure to see it make its way in the world. It's
nice to see a book travel all the way around. I always want the original from the source because I want authors to make as much money as they can. And I know they don't make a lot regardless, so I like to always make sure I get it the most legitimate way that I can. My favorite thing to do with books, Emily, is to give them away. I give away a lot of books, and I never go and order one copy on Amazon. I always order like 5 copies. But who should I give this book to?
Give it to someone who's struggling. Someone who can't see the point of this anymore. Someone who has tried everything and nothing works and has completely lost hope. I think they'll really resonate with the main character's journey. And talking of giving away books, I had 10 copies of all of my books. I've written 7 books. I had 10 copies lying around my house, and I just gave them all out the other day. It was one of the most joyous experiences of my life.
It is. It really is. It sounds like the answer to my question is, who should I give it to? Who should read this? It sounds like it's a book for everyone.
Well, these are incredibly trying times for the average human being, and I'm not going to get too political. I'm just going to say the war-torn nature of our political landscape and the religious discord we're experiencing at the moment, and the levels of depression and mental health issues, are really quite scary at the moment. And I've written a book to directly address those problems and hopefully bring comfort to people.
It sounds like the book is written, someone who reads it will find in themselves what they're looking for spiritually. Not you telling them or you lecturing or preaching to them, but it sounds like they'll have some self-discovery.
The whole premise of the book is that your fingerprint is unique, your iris is unique, and so is your perception of life, and that's okay. No one should argue with you about how you see the world and tell you that you're wrong and this kind of thing. It's your own journey to explore and discover, So I'm not here to dictate to people or suggest how they should live their lives. Like you say, the answer is within them already. I'm just pointing that out, Yeah.
I can't actually see what these pictures are, but you sent these beautiful pictures. Maybe they're the book covers. Somebody maybe.
I was on a Times Square billboard campaign.
That's right.
Yeah, and that happened late last year, 2 separate days, and I was incredibly pleased and proud to appear on a billboard in Times Square. So I sent you one of those photos. Yeah,
were you there? Did you get to see it?
I'd love to say yes, but unfortunately a friend of mine was there, Susan, and she took a photo for me.
That's what this photo is?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you this, all of my children live in New York City, and I've had a few authors say, hey, Mike, can your kids go to Times Square at this time on this day and take a picture? And they did.
That's great.
That's really a big deal that you got to have that. Now, Emily, I'm just sorry, I'm distracted because I'm looking at all the pictures you sent. This is not your first book, is that right?
It's my first book, but there are 7 books in total and an 8th on its way.
Okay, so they're going to start hitting the market soon?
Yeah. Well, the book I'm writing at the moment is my autobiography. I may seem like I've lived quite a normal and unexciting life, but that's absolutely not the case. So I'm exploring, my own personal journey as a writer and a creative being. But I'm a multi-genre author, and I've written books that basically historical fiction, poetry, I sometimes delve into the realms of politics, and I like to write about spirituality quite a lot as well.
That's great. Now, we have so many viewers who are writing their first book, trying to get through the first one. By the way, congratulations, as you've done that. And so we try to have authors on who have done it, who've gone through the struggle and actually got their book out there. But there's literally millions of prospective authors out there that just can't finish writing and put their pencil down and move on to the next project. So that's why we bring authors on, to hopefully inspire those to do that it can be done. Now, do you have a certain...
I have a friend, sorry to interrupt, but I have a friend in London who asked me in a pub about the process of writing and self-publishing books and this kind of thing, and she's only gone and done it herself. Yeah. So I'm really pleased to inspire the people to write. I think writing is incredibly cathartic, and it allows emotion to be expressed in a healthy and fluid manner. Yeah.
I tell you, now you say that, I've had so many people on the show who have been through a trauma, and then they wrote their book, and it really helped them. Cathartic, and it's a good idea. Anybody watching, try that. Just start writing. In fact, a lot of them say, don't worry about writing a book, just start writing every day. Write every day. What is your specific discipline? Do you get up at 6 a.m. every day and start typing?
No, I have a creative beast within me which won't let me rest, and sometimes wakes me in the middle of the night or harasses me in awkward moments. And then I need to find a way to write down my thoughts and collate them in a process of editing and basically putting together all my thoughts. And through that process, books emerge. So I never force myself to sit down and write when I don't feel like it or anything like that. I am haunted by the creative urge.
Yeah, I know that. I know that feeling. In fact, sometimes you probably have to try to stop the thinking and creating and try to move on to something else.
I have quite a good work-life balance at the moment, I like to think, and I am slowly making my way through my 8th book, but it's a long process, and it is very challenging to find the words to encapsulate entire experiences or passages of your life in a way that another person will understand. Yeah.
I'm especially interested in reading your memoir, because you sound like a fascinating person. Who lives in some faraway exotic land called the United Kingdom. It's far away for us in the United States. It's a mystery to us. I love to have authors on from the UK, like yourself.
Well, I've spent nearly 5 months in America,
5 months?
So it's not completely alien to me. Okay. I love the place.
What were you doing in the US for?
First time I went, I was 16. I spent a month and a half in Washington State. Nice. Staying with friends of the family, and then I travelled with my ex-fiance in 2008 for 3 months. We travelled the whole country, really, from New York to San Francisco, LA, Big Sur, Las Vegas. It was incredible.
Yeah,
Love the place.
Did you particularly connect with any of those places?
Yeah, I'd say Seattle is my favourite place I've been in America. It's very cool there, like slightly depressed, but I like that. That's my vibe.
I want to go back to the book here. I'm more fascinated by you than the book. Sorry, I'm going to read the book, I promise. And by the way, I have hundreds of people on this show, so I can't begin to read all the books of all the authors.
Very kind, Mike. Thank you. I'm sure you'll be richly rewarded for your endeavors.
But I found you and I found the book, and I'm fascinated. One of the purposes of the show is when people meet the author and hear them talk and get to know them a little, they're more likely to buy the book, and that's the purpose of the show. Well, you've got me, so I'm getting this book and I'm going to read it, and then I'll probably invite you back and we'll talk about it some more.
Love it, Mike. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate your time.
And my crew here is signaling me that I've gone way over time, but you're so fascinating I couldn't help myself. So I just want to give you a minute or two to tell us about the book, tell us about anything you want to talk about, anything in the world you want said. This is your time to say it.
It is my Oscars moment.
Awkward moment. Put you on the spot, so...
I'm good at speeches, as my family well know, and I'd like to take this moment to thank everyone who's tuning in or will watch this at any point in time who knows and cares about my journey. Thank you so much. I'd like to express my care for the world and my understanding that we do not live in stable or peaceful times,
Right.
and that is very distressing for us all. And I'd like to insist that in writing my books, I've been on a journey myself,
Yes.
and I'd like to take others on a similar journey of self-discovery and focus on the hope in the world, because I think people do lose hope too easily, and it's something we need to fight for, So that's all I'd like to say.
Very good. Well, I'll make a pitch. See this book here, The Religion of Self-Enlightenment? Go to wherever you buy your books, Amazon or wherever, but don't click once. Order 5 of them. What a great book to give as a gift. Somebody will be inspired and moved by that gift, and I think they'll be inspired and moved by the book. So order a bunch of them. I never order one because I want everybody to be reading what I'm reading right now. So thank you, Emily, for coming on the show, and I hope you'll come back again and again.
So much, Mike. I find you equally, wonderful and fabulous, and your job must be amazing.
It really is.
Yeah, no, it really seems like a good gig you've got going on, and I'd be happy to come back on again. Thank you so much.
And as I've never been to the UK, my son lives there half the time, and I'm going to go soon. So I dropped my mouse, excuse me. So I'll look you up, Emily, when I'm there. And for our viewers, don't go anywhere because we're going to be back with another international author right after this. And hang on, Emily, we're almost done, and now we are out.